Ayo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO and you sign up. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices. Looks like a remote show because we showed up, but our guy Steven didn't. What's going on, Steven?
Oh, you're throwing Steven under the bus.
All right. I mean, hey, we're here.
One of us looked at the schedule here, and it wasn't either of you two. It said remote on there. I'm where I'm supposed to be.
That's true. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, host of the CHGO White Sox post-game shows. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. No Herb Lawrence today. He is in Pittsburgh taking a vacation, watching the White Sox for some reason.
Vacationing to Pittsburgh to do the thing that he does for work. Man, Herb is
what a life.
Herb lives a different life than the rest of us.
Hey, you know what? Why not? So why not? He got to see his second favorite ballpark. So at least he gets to take a trip around the USA. I did love your response to Matt Peck when he was like, "Oh, you're not in Pittsburgh?" And you're like, "Why would I be?" Who wants to go to Pittsburgh for a vacation? We are coming to you again live after a White Sox loss. They lose 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. A donut, an Easter egg, probably more apropos for today on Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. White Sox lose 1-0. They lose the series 2-3. They did take the game on Saturday. What did you take away from this ugly game? And maybe we just start with the ugliest thing about this game, and it's O'Neal Cruz's fractured ankle.
Well, certainly I want to take that away from my memory because that is a horrible thing to have seen a million times during the broadcast.
Let's slow it down too. Let's find the exact moment.
Well wishes for O'Neal Cruz because that looked horribly painful and something that you wouldn't want to wish on anyone. I don't think I would describe this game as ugly. You know what I mean? Certainly the White Sox have played a few of those, few of them this weekend in this series, but I think this one was okay. I think Michael Kopech turned in a really, really good pitching performance. And, we're seeing our comments fill up with the typical reactions that you get a week into a Major League Baseball season or a week and a half into a Major League Baseball season. The team's under 500, and so, of course, the season's over already. But if you're looking at a long-term thing to make you somewhat optimistic about the White Sox chances over the course of the entire summer, look at the corrections made by Michael Kopech between his first outing way back on Monday in the home opener, in which he gave up 5 home runs to the San Francisco Giants, to today, where he gave up next to nothing to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, obviously, the offense couldn't back him up. So at the end of the day, if you're pulling a Tony La Russa and you're just living and dying by the result, obviously you're not going to be happy. But my goodness, moving forward, to show that he can bounce back from that, the work that him and Ethan Katz and the White Sox put in to take a look at what was going wrong in that game on Monday to get to where they were today, where he has thrown, that's the second best starting pitching outing the White Sox have had this season, hands down. Obviously Cease had the gem on opening night in Houston, but this is easily the second best that they've had so far. Very, very nice day for Michael Kopech.
Here's the thing too. I've been probably the most worried out of me, you, and Herb about Michael Kopech and his future. And if he can be a starter, this is just so promising. And I know we've seen a lot of these spurts from Michael Kopech, but he throws 102 pitches today. And on pitches, I guess 100 and 101, he hits 98 both times to G-Man Choi. I mean, just being able to have that velocity, throwing 51 fastballs with a pitch clock, and not gassing out. Like, that was my concern, that he might not have that ability to go deep into games. We really haven't seen sharp stuff from him in a while since he's been coming out of the bullpen. And he displayed, great stuff on his fastball and slider today. I have no reason not to be giddy about this start for Michael Kopech. You see the horrible blow up in the 5th inning against the Giants, and it really looks like one bad inning, because outside of that, he looked pretty decent in those first 4 innings against the Giants. So I'm very excited about Michael Kopech's kind of bounce back, as you've described it. I thought we'd see more changeups today, but he was really fastball slider prevalent, 50% fastballs, 42% sliders, and it was working for him. And his velocity is up on every single pitch. It's up a mile per hour on his fastball. Again, he threw 51 today, a mile per hour on his sliders. He threw 41. His changeup's up 3.8 miles per hour. And he even flashed a curveball that was at 80.9. So just effective and really powerful stuff. And, we want to see Michael Kopech turn into this power pitcher. We see the frame. This is, fantastic signs that he has this power and can diminish it through 100 pitches over 6 innings and not really have any diminishing returns.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, if there's going to be something that you're going to be worried about as White Sox fans over the course of the first 10 games of the season, it's the pitching. It has not looked good. The starting pitching in particular has not looked good, but I think the bullpen before today had given up a run in every game in each of the first 9 games. So that not looking good either. You can take comfort today knowing that it's not all going to be bad, that Michael Kopech can be part of the solution to that problem rather than continue to be one of the symptoms or the causes even of that problem. Dylan Cease's looked good two times through. Obviously, he was sick in that second one, but managed even with a lot of walks to hold the Giants to a pretty low run total.
One hit. Pretty good.
Yeah, one hit, pretty good. But Kopech, the first time through the rotation was the biggest worry, right? And then the second time through the rotation, you've got Cease and Lynn and Giolito and Clevenger stumbling a bit. But hey, then Kopech comes back. So I think, if you go day by day and then you continue to get a bigger picture of what's going to happen and what's currently happening with this team right now, 2 turns to rotation, everybody's got one good one and one bad one. It seems like Dylan Cease's bad one isn't quite as bad as everybody else's, but everybody else's good ones aren't quite as good as his good ones either. Obviously, he's a Cy Young candidate for a reason. But I think if everybody's fretting about the pitching, and certainly the numbers show that you should be, the ERA is sky high right now for the team as a whole. You can look as you get a bigger sample size, things are maybe looking, especially after today, a little better.
Yeah, Husky Bardo with the super chat, $5 super chat, saying this team is not good. You lost $70 million. You lost to a $70 million team. Love Vinnie being optimistic, but this team will be buried by the end of April with the schedule.
Buried by the end of April.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I think there's a very important series coming up. We'll talk about this in the second half. But the Twins coming up. You're going to Minnesota. We're going to see less and less of the AL Central. So I think these games are going to be more and more important. And you have your top of the rotation versus their top of the rotation. We're going to see Lance Lynn versus Pablo Lopez. Isn't that beautiful? Well, doesn't that write itself?
You're going to have to wait for Herb to get here. That postgame show on Tuesday is going to be a bloodbath, I'm sure.
The pregame show, too. You might not want to show up. You might want to say, oh, guys, I thought the pregame show was remote.
I'll hide behind the chairs out in Studio A.
But it's going to be a very exciting kind of, barometer, I guess, of where the White Sox stand. Because, again, I think Wayne said it. You haven't gotten the pitching when you've gotten the hitting. You did the first night when you won 3-2, but still only scoring 3 runs against the Astros. Seeing Michael Kopech go out here and, White Sox offense do nothing, but still out hit the Pirates 5-2. It just felt like things aren't clicking, and we saw that a lot last year. But again, this is a team that isn't new to playing with each other, but Oscar Colas is new. Andrew Benintendi's new. Elvis Andrus is getting news to a new position, and we see him make 2 mistakes, but also a great play. There was a play where G-Man Choi hits a laser and he goes ranging out like a shortstop, makes the jump throw and turn. That was great, but then he gets called for having his feet on the edge of the grass, and that was a ball for the White Sox, and then throwing Tim off the bag where they could have gotten a double play. So everything's not clicking with this team just yet. I mean, Clevenger's new to the rotation as well. But I don't think, again, it's been 7 games. It's really tough to say, we're burying the team that leads the AL or leads the American League, leads the MLB in hits, and leads the MLB in extra base hits. There are positive signs from what we've seen so far. It's just, it hasn't clicked in a game.
Sean, I have big information on my phone that is telling me that it is April 9th.
Okay, there you go.
April 9th. Come on. I get it. It's sports. You get mad. But come on. It's April 9th.
The Rays are 9-0. Do you think the Rays are going to win the World Series?
Well, I didn't pick them to win the World Series, but I guess that's a very good point, right? The Rays haven't lost a game. Does that mean they shut down the season? Oh, well, the Rays are obviously the best. No need to play any more of these games. Come on, guys.
How many World Series have the Rays won? Oh, right. None. You know,
they've been to a couple fairly recently.
Yeah, true. You know, a lot more than the White Sox in the past couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it is too early to tell, and I think there are still some lives. Do you think the White Sox pitchers through 2 turns are going to have an ERA above 8? Probably not. I think there's some for some regression there. But looking at a team that was second in major league hits, second in hits in the major league last year, only behind Toronto, it's not crazy that they would be leading the major leagues in hits, and that, hey, we are seeing a couple more doubles, which is great. Like, we needed to see more extra base hits when the White Sox hit 1,000 singles in 2022.
It's why when, you know, at the end of these series, we call them takeaways, right? Things we learned from the series are takeaways. They're not conclusions.
Yes.
Because the only time you can draw a conclusion is when the math says so. So I can, well, of course I can believe. I was going to say I cannot believe, but of course I can believe. I've been dealing with fan reactions for many years now. Of course I can believe that we're talking about the team being dead and buried 10 games into the season. But come on. It's a long way to go. It's gonna be a long summer if you're busting out the shovel already.
Or it'll be a short one because all these baseball games are going pretty quick. We saw a
good
brawl.
One today.
We saw a couple pitch clock violations. We saw Elvis Andrus be weird with the having his feet on the ground.
And
we
a replay review with the TA play. Yeah.
I think and then they had a replay if Elvis's feet were on the grass too.
Yeah.
A lot of replays. So, and it was still breezy. This game started at 12.
It was 12:35. Yeah, so it was about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so
right
very breezy. You know, a 1-0 game should be breezy, but
the pitch clock is running away with the MVP award.
Not Aaron Judge. He had 2 homers today. It's the pitch clock.
That's fine, Aaron Judge, but you have yet to master time. You are not the Kang the Conqueror of Major League Baseball.
Right. But even when we see a ton of I don't get that reference, by the way. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Steven, you get it?
Yeah, I do. That's a Marvel reference.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm up to date with these things.
Thank you, Steven.
I'm in the dark with that stuff. I got to go watch some movies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Can I learn that from a movie, or does it have to be from the comic books?
The newest movie they had, the Ant-Man movie that nobody liked, that he was the bad guy. So you can wait for that to come out on Disney Plus and then take a gander.
Why not? Maybe
or not, right?
Or not. But a 13-9 game under in 3 hours, 2:48, and then the game that goes 11-5, 3:04. So I mean, even when it is long, it doesn't feel that long. It's been great, and a pace to this game is what it desperately needed. We're not seeing middle of the inning pitching changes, which I think is great. Obviously, they got rid of the
the Pirates did one today, but they didn't. It doesn't, bring everything to just a screeching halt like they used to. Yeah.
Well, and that's a newer rule too, the loogie and the 3-batter minimum. But like, still, that was a great change. And then now just seeing the pitch clock, like, this is great baseball. I love it. And when the Pirates are able to go out and field, be real easy and smooth for them on the bases. So just a shout out to the pitch clock, because we've seen now more pitch clock violations, a couple of weird shift rules too. So we're seeing some of the rules come into play, but nothing's really changed the game. Like, it's still baseball. Like, it's still I think a better version of baseball. So I'm happy with 2023 baseball. Let's talk a little bit about Clevenger and Lynn. I don't know if there's much to take away from this series. Maybe just the Pirates are pretty decent at hitting. I mean, putting up 13 runs and 5 runs, not bad. I don't know if you want to put it all on the pitching being bad. It's not been good. But I don't know. I've been surprised by a lot of these teams, San Francisco and Pittsburgh specifically. I mean, they just seem to have some decent hitting.
Yeah, and I guess the point, there's another point in favor of kind of sitting back and waiting, because right now we don't know what some of these teams might be. You know what I mean? Maybe by the time you get to the end of April or the end of May, you'll be able to look back and say, oh man, White Sox pitching really screwed up there because those two teams are no good and they're not hitting against anybody else. Or you might be able to say, oh, well, the White Sox, gave up all those home runs to the Giants, but look, here we are at the end of April and the Giants are hitting everybody. So some more time in between those assessments could probably help you make a better one. But yeah, I mean, listen, the pitching I don't think has been great. I think certainly there were guys who we expected to go out and have an upper hand. I mean, especially a guy like Lance Lynn who pitched in that final game of the Giants series. Mike Clevenger looked so good against the Astros last weekend. And now yesterday he's getting knocked around as well. So Lucas Giolito, we don't know what to make of it quite yet. We thought that his first start against Houston was fine. And then he comes out against Pittsburgh and has a real bad one. So, again, more time is going to offer better perspective on what these guys' individual games looked like. Was this a blip? Was this a sign of things to come? We'll find out once they start pitching some more. I think right in this moment, you have to trot these guys out there. I mean, that's the thing is like it's so early that so many changes can be made, but it's so early that you can't even push the button on those changes yet. Now that we did see the White Sox do one this weekend in getting rid of Jose Ruiz, I personally, I think that was probably more a reflection of what they needed at the big league level rather than his performance through only 3 relief appearances so far. No doubt he was not good. He gave up 3 homers in 2 appearances against the Giants, right? He was
had
not
9
good.
earned runs and 3 2/3.
That's real bad.
That's an ERA at 22.
It's real bad. But the point being that relievers do that. Relievers have bad games and don't get kicked off the team because of 2 bad games. I think what it was the starting pitching had been so unreliable for the last few days, and they were going into this 3-game series this weekend in Pittsburgh. They needed a guy who was going to be able to come up and eat some innings, maybe multiple ones at a time. So they didn't have that in their bullpen, in their opening day bullpen. So they call on a guy in Schultens who fits that job description. You got to get rid of somebody. There's got to be an odd man out because there's rules on how many pitchers and position players you can carry. And Ruiz is the guy that goes. So we'll see.
To that point too, there wasn't a length guy. You really didn't have anyone besides Tanner Banks that provided that role last year.
Velasquez eventually,
right? Well, and Vince Velasquez. So and he's gone.
Right,
he pitched in the series, good stuff. Absolutely. There wasn't that length guy, and Jake. They all kind of blend together, the middle relievers at this point. I guess Jimmy Lambert has a little bit more of rope just because this is now second full year start in the rotation. We've seen a lot of Jose Ruiz. He was one of the more tenured White Sox relievers. So this isn't the World Baseball Classic.
No, it's not. The point I was making though was you saw. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, good! They answered all our complaints." This guy had 2 bad games, and Twitter goes, "Oh, cut him, get him off the team." And guess what? They got him off the team. I think look back to last year when even a guy who not many people might have had faith in Dallas Keuchel coming into the season was given the amount of time that he was given because you got to find out what he is. And by the time that he had enough of a track record in 2022 to show you that things weren't getting better, they made the move that they made. I think in the first 2 weeks of the season, it's really hard to make those moves again, unless there are roster needs like what happened with Jose Ruiz.
Yeah. And Schultens too, when he gets used 3 innings to close out a 5-run game, right? So using him in garbage time in garbage innings just to eat those up. So again, filling that need, which it sucks that need is existent, but it is a need nonetheless. Final thing I wanted to bring up was just some pitching stats. And then this thing from Lance Brozdowski from about Lucas Giolito. Just kind of finishing up on the rotation stuff. So Steven, if we want to flash Kopech's stats today, mainly the called strikes plus whiff, we can do this first. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 2 hits, 5 Ks, 3 walks for Kopech. And let's get to the stuff. So he had 8 swings on 23 fastballs. That's 35% whiff rate. That's great. 5 whiffs on 24 sliders, 21%. That's decent. 13 whiffs on 47 swings, 28% whiff rate. Very nice from Michael Kopech. When they did hit him, average exit velocity of 93.7, so they weren't able to get too much on it. He did leave some sliders out over the middle of the plate, but they weren't able to kill him outside of Kenin Smith and Jigba, who hit the triple off a slider. Romy had a decent shot to try to play it off the wall, but I mean, that's always such a weird one because you're in the light and then you go into the shadow. So that must be such a hard transition up against the wall. Right, so that was a really tough play right there. And Kopech too, getting down with a weird curveball was looked like a strike on game day. It was called a ball and then left a slider over the middle of the plate. But then, Steven, we want to go back to that stuff graphic real quick. Called strikes for Kopech today, 21 That's amazing to see. 34 called strikes plus whiff. That's his number. Look at that. And a called strike whiff percentage of 33%. MLB average is 30. So above average start here for Michael Kopech. Absolutely phenomenal to see. And then just going back on the other starts, Gio got 8 whiffs on 33 swings, 35% called strike plus whiff percentage. Lance Brozdowski of Marquee had some stuff notes on Lucas. He's tweaked his four-seam fastball a little bit. He's getting an extra 1.5 inch vertical break or ride on his fastball. He's also throwing it 1.5 miles harder. Stuff Plus is a fan, bumping his fastball grade from 85 to 101, and he's getting more change-up separation. So Lance thinks that the results so far that Lucas is getting, not really matching up to his stuff being better. So we might see positive regression coming up from Lucas Giolito in his next start. Lance had 9 whiffs on 43 swings, a called strike whiff percentage of 27%. That's not good. That's below average on both of those. Not really a typical Lance start, but he also seemed to have diminishing stuff. I'm not sure if he was dealing with dead arm just by having so much work so far through spring training and the World Baseball Classic. I'm not sure if that was a little bit of dead arm he was dealing with. And then Kopech in his last start, 12 whiffs on 39 swings. So just dominant again with his stuff and that continuing. And they didn't any home runs off of him, which is good. Clevenger got 4 whiffs on 38 swings and a called strike whiff percentage of 22%. That was very bad, very off of his Houston start where I think he got 13 whiffs and his called strike whiff percentage was around 31%. So Clevenger looking the worst out of those stats. Like his stuff really just did not play well.
And he's got 2 wins.
Against
so how
Pirates.
about that?
Yeah, right. So he does look like the weak link, but again, there's the reason why he is the 5th starter. So I mean, I guess Kopech is 5th in the rotation, but
just by numbers, but
just by also spring training, just a little bit delay there.
It's
but
the schedule more than anything.
Yeah, right. If we're going to a 4-man rotation in the playoffs, I think Kopech beats out Clevenger for that spot. Cease, Lynn, Giolito for the upcoming Minnesota series. We'll take a break here and talk about that Minnesota series and how important it is to the White Sox. But we want to let you know how you can watch your White Sox. Fubo TV. With 140 live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news, you could stream live TV from any device with Fubo Pro. You can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. You had the Bulls on one NBC Sports Chicago. You had the White Sox in the other NBC Sports Chicago. You can watch both of them. You could start watching immediately with the 7-day free trial. There's no contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. And you have over 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. You can watch local teams while traveling. And I know this just wrapped up, but it was a crazy final in the Frozen Four for the NCAA hockey tournament. Oh, I can't say that college. The
Quinnipiac.
Thank you.
That one, yeah.
That team won. And you can watch the White Sox on NBC Sports Chicago.
Steven just crushing
Fubo
it
TV.
with the pronunciation. They're the ones that do the polls. They do a lot of polls, like political polling and stuff. If you watch I didn't even really know they had teams. I had just heard of them through like the news.
Well, and they have they're very northeastern. Like they have baseball, lacrosse, and hockey. I think those are like the D1 ones. They don't think they have a football program.
They're not FBS.
No, I think they have a cool. They're the Bobcats. Ooh. I've always liked Bobcats. You can watch the Steven, say it again.
Quinnipiac.
Bobcats, and the Chicago White Sox on NBC Sports Chicago with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. You can go to FuboTV.com/CHGO as well. Vinny, what you drinking?
Oh, got a little 312.
Oh, look at that.
A little goose product here.
Honk, honk.
I like the new cans, by the way.
Yeah,
I was noticing this the other day with the phone with the colors coming out of the phone. It looks good. Yeah, it's good.
The rebrand, I think it was time. CHGO supported by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer since 1988. They are a very deep roster of beer. They have the Blackhawks Pale Ale. They have the obviously 312 Wheat Ale, but they also have the Bull City 312. You can drink Goose Island 312 in a city uniform. City edition uniform can. The can matches the new 2023-2022 city edition uniforms. You could drink on that while they're in the playoffs, though. You also got the Bourbon County Stout, the Shandies, the lemon and tangerine one, the Levy Eason Kolsch, which is a new one. That's the summer beer. I think it's called Summertime specifically.
Nice.
The Beer Hug IPA series, the Green Line, the Matilda and the Sophie, and there's also the No Plans as well. You got Goose Island's 2 locations that are open and ready to welcome you. You could grab a beer right from their innovative tanks at Goose Island Tap Room at 1800 West Fulton, or get a smash burger and fresh beer of the week at the original Clybourne Brewhouse at 1800 North Clybourne. For reservations and pickup, go to gooseisland.com/locations. Goose Island Beer Company. We also have on April 27th and April 28th, the CHGO Bears draft party over at Joe's on Wheat Street with our friends over at Goose Island. Go to allchgo.com. Diehards do get 20% off to that event, and it should be good fun with the Bears picking top 10, unless they trade it. Let's go to the upcoming series against Minnesota. Very weird start time on Monday. It is at 1:10. Dylan Cease versus Kenta Maeda. On Tuesday, April 11th, 6:40, Lynn versus Lopez. Watch out, Herb Lawrence. And Wednesday, April 12th at 12:10, Giolito versus Gray. Sonny Gray in his last start struck out 13 Astros.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
Minnesota has looked very good to start the year, 6-2, and they currently are losing 5-1 to the Minnesota Twins. So they'll be 6-3.
They must be playing somebody else because they are the Minnesota
Oh,
Twins.
the Houston Astros.
There we go.
Thank you very much. Jose Abreu also has a 9-game hitting streak.
Remember that guy?
To start his Astros career. What do we make of the Minnesota Twins? This is a team that I picked for the AL Central to win the AL Central. And two, with the shortened schedule against the division opponents, not seeing them 19 times anymore. How much will AL Central series mean to the White Sox? Because, hey, you can lose, 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you shouldn't. The Pirates aren't very good, but I think, again, I'm not sure we know the answer to that question yet. I think the point should be that all the games count the same, because it's not college football, right? It's not college basketball where you're only looking at your division record to win you games in the division. And of course, it's always been that way. But now that you're playing everybody, you come down to the end of the season and you got games against some team from the NL West, like you got to beat them to hold off the team behind you. Again, I get the point you're making. You beat a team in your division, it counts double, right? Ideally, or theoretically. But listen, it's so early in the season. They just gotta win series. I think they go up to Minnesota. They got to try to take 2 of 3, like they would if they were going out to Denver, or if they were going, if they were going to Seattle or to the Bronx. Like, this is a situation where they got to just start winning. And I don't think it's critical. There's no panic button that needs to be pressed. This is baseball. We got 6 more months of this to go, kind of thing. I don't think that, like you were saying earlier, I don't think that all of a sudden, like, okay, those first 10 games were the appetizer and now things really start counting. Like, I think they're going to approach it the same way. And you should be a little fired up to see the team within your division. Maybe cutting back on these games almost increases the rivalry factor in some of this, because it's like, it's not like, oh, we're just going to see them 18 more times start. It might increase that rivalry factor a little bit, but we'll see what gets going. I think right now what you got to look at is the Twins are playing well, and the White Sox are doing one thing really well. They're hitting fantastically. Of course, they didn't score any runs today, so it's a bad time to bring that up maybe. But I mean, the offensive numbers, particularly if you look at just the American League rankings, first, second, third in so many categories. The home runs are a little league average right around there, but really everything else has been fantastic from an offensive standpoint. I think that if that was the big thing we were looking for coming into this season, how is the offense going to improve off what they did last year? They've been really good so far.
And there's also still a big hole in that lineup. Luis Robert Jr. obviously didn't play today, but Eloy Jimenez, he hits a lot of home runs.
Yeah, he does.
We picked him to hit a lot of home runs this year. So, I mean, that's another thing too, is, maybe the home runs haven't come just yet, but maybe when 74 is back in the lineup, we'll see a little bit more of those. I do just wonder, though, because we heard Pedro Grifol kind of say, seeing a division opponent in the White Sox when he was with the Royals, you can kind of tell when they would be up for games and when they wouldn't be up for games. The White Sox went 9-10 versus Minnesota last year, 9-10 against the Royals, and 7-12 versus the Guardians. That's not good. Losing records against all AL Central opponents, you now see them 14 times instead of 19 times. So I do think it's just has to have more importance, because, there has to be some tiebreaker, right?
Well, sure.
Like head-to-head record. Like, I mean,
there is, but I'm
like,
just saying, it's April 9th. I don't think any team in baseball is getting amped up for like division race caliber energy at this point in the season. This is a long season. And if these guys expend all their energy in the first 10 days, they're not going to be able to do anything the whole rest of the year. This is a game about the beauty of baseball. A lot of people will tell you is if you have a bad day, you get the next day to make it up. Right. And I think, obviously when there is an industry based on reacting to every single one of these games that we are a part of, right? You gotta try to take some big conclusions from everything. You can't do it especially this early in the season. You just can't do it. I understand everybody's like, oh, it's just going to be a repeat of last year. Here we go again. Blah, blah, blah. You have no idea. We have no idea. We will see when we get down the road a little bit more. And I think that applies to what you're talking about with the Twins. Yeah. The White Sox need to win games against the Twins, but they need to win games against everybody. And I think if they're going to make a habit of doing what they've done the last 2 series against the Giants, against the Pirates, where they only take 1 game, then yeah, the overness of this is going to accelerate, and you might want to start bringing out the shovels if they can't win series. But if they go up to Minnesota and take 2 or 3, they've done exactly what they're supposed to do.
We're probably going streaking down Madison if they take 2 or 3. That's just the way everything happens and the way everything feels. I just do wonder too, because this was such an important spot for them last year. Even in early April, they just lost 3 straight to Cleveland, 11-1, 2-1, 6-3, and then they go to Minnesota. They lose a 2-1 ball game where Kendall Graveman kind of blows it on that Friday. They lose just a horrible game 9-2 on that Saturday, and then on Sunday that's the Liam Hendricks Byron Buxton game where it's like, why didn't you walk him? Oh, you're afraid of
the Eloy injury. And that same game, right?
And the Eloy injury as well. So that was just a crusher of a series. So hopefully it's not that bad. We've seen kind of series or seasons maybe have because that felt like a tone setter when they lost that series, just that way, because then we saw the same series or the same kind of run of games later in the season, which effectively ended their series.
Again, what I would say there is that hindsight's 20/20, right? And so, yeah, if at the end of the day, that was very emblematic of what happened the rest of the year. The catastrophic injury to Eloy, and again, I thought Liam Hendricks was excellent last year, but that kind of just gut-wrenching way that they lost so many different games throughout the whole season.
And weird Tony decisions as well. We can
certainly ones that were debated. We'll put it that way. Again, that's, you're right in that it sticks out as a memory, as a sore spot in a season that was just an overall sore spot, right? So, sure. But I don't think that day you were like, oh boy, this is it. They're going to finish 500. A lot of folks probably were, but I mean, all I'm saying is they win the next day, and and that is all an ancient history memory kind of thing. I think though that everybody realized then that was April, and that there was so much to play. It just so happened that the so much to play ended up looking a lot like that.
Well, and then we could also fast forward to the next time that they step foot in Minnesota, July 14th to the 17th. They win 12-2, 6-2, lose 6-3, win 11-0. Luis Robert hits a massive grand slam. They're 46-46 going into the All-Star break.
Eloy is back.
And everything feels fine.
Yeah.
So it's baseball. It's going to be a ride. It's going to be a journey. And I feel, I mean, it's tough to say. I don't know if I feel more confident in this team, but my energy level, my glass half full is still glass half full, just like it was where we were after the 3rd series last year, where they're 6-4, and beating up on the Rays and the Mariners. Like I don't feel any worse than that point of last season. So I don't think I don't know.
Well, and again, you say glass half full, it's glass most of the way full, because it's only been 10 of the 162 sips that you'll be taking throughout the rest of the summer.
It's a long season, folks. Remember the Atlanta Braves? They were like below 500 in 2021 and won the World Series.
But again, I don't even want to play that card. It's not even about that. It's literally the 10th game.
Yes, 100%. Let's take a quick break, and we'll talk a little bit about Jose Ruiz leaving the team, and old face or a long time face leaves, and you don't really have to do too much mental gymnastics to learn the new name.
No pronunciation problems over here for that one.
No. Let's take a break though and let you know about FOCO Chicago. You've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams, so get fitted in the best sports gear around. FOCO has you covered from Soldier Field to the front room, north or south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like tomorrow with apparel from the leaders in sports merch and collectibles. FOCO, that's FOCO. You're looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life. FOCO's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. It's going to be 70 though, so go buy some shorts. Check out FOCO.com. That's FOCO.com, or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
Buy some shorts.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Why not?
It's 65 degrees outside today. It's going to be 80 later this week.
Let's go.
See, here's the thing. Don't let the results of a baseball game get you down when the sun's out.
Right. That's the thing, folks.
Beautiful.
It is going to be fantastic for the next 4 months and 5 months. So even if, the baseball's bad, the weather will hopefully be good. So, you could just spend more time outside. Touch some grass, folks. Let's let you know about Shady Rays as well. When you're out in the sun, when you are bathing in that 80-degree weather, take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with the warm weather ahead for premium polarized shades at an affordable price. I sat on my nice Shady Rays sunglasses. It was an accident. The little, what's it called? The thing that rests on your nose. They bent in, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
Yeah.
They're going to crack. They're going to break. I just pushed them back. And they're fine. They're all back in normal. Shady Rays were built to last, and they're an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. I'd say even better. Durable frames, just told you, and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventure. And that's not all. If I did break my Shady Rays, they offer the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. My guy Alec S in the chat, I know he bought his Shady Rays and said it's truly no questions asked. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Thank you, Shady Rays, for your support.
I gotta send a little greeting to Alec S. He's in Columbia, Missouri.
Oh yeah,
MIZ.
Yes.
There you go. 3.5 years of my life down there in Columbia, Missouri.
I don't even think he's a Tiger though. No,
just hanging out.
He's from the South Side, and
Okay.
he moved to Missouri to Kansas City, I think, first,
Been there.
and then moved to Columbia.
Okay.
For work.
Como, the quality city.
I feel like he didn't. I think Alec, let me know where you went to college. I'm blanking on where you went to college. I think you went to SLU. Yeah, his fiance is
He's
now
explained it all.
There you go. Shout out to Alec.
Fight Tigers, fight for Old Mizzou.
We got to get Ryan Herrera in here if you're going to start talking like that.
Oh my goodness.
Decked out in Missouri gear every
that'll
single
be
day.
like a 3-hour podcast.
Oh, man, he's like a Met fan. Like, he's decked out in Missouri.
Is that a
like,
Mets thing?
I just feel like if you're a Mets or Yankee fan, like, you got the jacket, you got the hat on, like,
wearing the uniform.
Yeah, Ryan Herrera is always wearing the Mizzou uniform.
The only Mizzou shirt I wear anymore is just the one from the pizza place in town.
Nice. Yeah. And you got to love on the Grateful Dead or the Led Zeppelin shirt that you're wearing today with the nice tie-dye. Let's go to the Jose Ruiz. Jose Ruiz was DFA'd, as we mentioned, and now he was traded to PHNX. The Diamondbacks got Jose Ruiz for cash, and old face Alex Colomé is now
back on a minor league deal
with the Charlotte Knights, and today he made his first appearance with the Charlotte Knights, and he struck out Zach Collins.
Wow. Oh man.
This is the second time I'm telling Vinnie, and he's still shocked.
White Sox rebuild all-stars coming through here. Mercy.
Yeah, what do we expect here from the bullpen? Let's go to the takeaways here, Steven, if you do have those ready, because one of my takeaways is bullpen centric. I feel like we learned a lot about Pedro Grifol. Did you do the thing where you're flashing one at a time?
I did do the thing, but I could just put them both on.
No, why don't
put them both? Put them both.
Right,
put them both.
Put
There
them
you
both
go.
on. Put them both
Okay.
on. You're good. Thank you, Steven. Oh, look at you. This is a very nice graphic. I really underestimated how
This looks like a comic book where we're talking in quote bubbles like that. I like that.
And someone deleted Steven's original template. So
Yeah, I had a nice one, and now I have to redo it. This one looks all right, but I think I like the last one better.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, I don't know. I think this worked. But we're learning more about Pedro Grifol's bullpen choices. And Friday in a tied game, 7-7, he went to Jake Diekman. Jake Diekman kind of let that go. And then in a 1-run game with the bases loaded, brought in Jimmy Lambert, and things got messy. Down 5 to finish the game. We saw Jesse Schulten seeing that depth where Ruiz really couldn't go 3 innings. Schulten goes 3 innings and is able to let them, even though it was an ugly game, close out only using 3 pitchers, which I think was huge for this team. Saturday, up 2 with a runner on second. They go to Joe Kelly after Clevenger gets taken out. Up 7 with a clean inning. Middle of the lineup, they go Aaron Bummer. Up 7, clean inning. You get Kendall Graveman. Up 7, clean inning, Reynaldo Lopez. And then Sunday, down 1, clean inning, Jimmy Lambert. Down 1, clean inning, Jake Diekman. Diekman and Lambert look good today, but still very odd to see, even though it was a losing game, a 1-run game, you don't see the best pitchers out of the bullpen. And even in a larger game with the lead, a 7-run lead, you're seeing Kelly, Graveman, Raylo. Are we seeing similarities to, Tony's winning bullpen versus Tony's losing bullpen?
I don't know if you can go that far quite yet. I think what I would point out about this weekend specifically, or today specifically even, is all those guys that you mentioned that pitched on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so you go to Lambert and Diekman, who have each had a full day of rest because they didn't pitch on Saturday. Everybody that you probably would prefer to use in that, I'm not saying Pedro does because he's very matchups oriented, but that might be more logical, let's say, to go in there, were the 4 guys that you read that pitched literally the day before. Now, it's not that you're not able to go back to back, but listen, whatever spawned those decisions today to put in Lambert and put in Diekman worked beautifully. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys, I think between the 2 of them, 1 base runner, right? Lambert walked a guy, Diekman was perfect. So it worked perfectly there. I think if everybody's sitting there going, oh man, why are you throwing these guys in there? You could you could go back out to Lopez, go back out to Kelly or Graveman. Well, you could also play the long-term chess game a little bit. And now look who's fresh for Monday against the Minnesota Twins. It worked out, I think, that way in Pedro's favor. They're not always going to look like that, but you're right. It is kind of interesting as time goes along to see how things go. And I think you just got to remember the way that Pedro had said he's going to utilize his bullpen. Those guys show up every day of the game, those relief pitchers, and they tell them, here's the part of the lineup that we want you to, that you should expect to face today. Whether that's based on matchups or whatever, it is not based on, well, we'll see what's going on in the 7th inning and then maybe you'll pitch. It's when these guys come up in the batting order in a relief situation, you can expect to be one of the guys that gets called on to face them. Doesn't matter what inning that's in. So it's not, as I've been saying all the last week and a half now here, it's not necessarily going to be like you're used to seeing a bullpen deployed or like you might deploy a bullpen, right? It's not going to be, all right, it's the 8th inning. Run the 8th inning guy out there, if you're winning by 3 or less kind of thing. So it's going to be different maybe on a daily basis based on what those matchups are. But the big thing over the last few days has been the rest and the availability of these bullpen guys. That's why you saw Jose Ruiz get DFA'd on Friday. Pedro spent so much time after Thursday's game complimenting the few pitchers that did pitch, after Lance Lynn, because the bullpen had been so taxed because Kopech couldn't go long. And then Cease couldn't go quite as long as he's used to on Wednesday. And then Lynn has a short outing. He didn't even make it out of the 5th on Thursday.
Kopech and all the guys coming out of the bullpen on the home opener got shelled.
Right. And so not only are those guys being used a little bit more than the White Sox would like, they're not having the results that they would like either, which again, then screws up your whole plan of we want you to face this part of the lineup. For crying out loud, Hanser Alberto pitched twice in that Giants series. That's ridiculous. And so the bullpen is a little bit more taxed than they would like it to be right now. The schedule's not going to do them any favors. So they got to figure out a way to get this thing back on track mid-games, right? And so you're balancing 2 things at once. If you're Pedro Grifol, you've got to utilize the pitchers that you want to utilize to win games and at the same time keep your bullpen fresh because you got 150-something games to get them all the way through over the next few months. So I think they're probably in a decent spot with what I just said, how the guys who all the high leverage or the highest leverage guys, let's say, who pitched on Saturday didn't have to pitch today. They're probably good for the start of that Twins series. But the number one thing that they would like to see, I can guarantee you, is Dylan Cease go 6-7 innings tomorrow?
Right.
Is Lance Lynn go 6-7 innings on Tuesday? That's the thing that they need to do in order to get that bullpen back on track.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's bad too to have those guys have trust in themselves. Like, I mean, first off, the reason why the White Sox lost today is not pitching. I mean, obviously they gave up that one triple and they couldn't really play great defense to keep that guy in. But still, I mean, the Pirates hit it out to deep center field and they drove in a run. You need to score runs. I mean, you lost 1-0 against the Pirates. So that's the real culprit here. And I don't care that he really went to Jimmy Lambert, Jake Diekman, because again, in a 1-run game, you might have to go to those guys on certain games. And Jake Diekman, especially against lefties, he was killer today. I mean, he got 3 whiffs on 7 swings and a called strike whiff percentage of 40%. That was good. He was throwing strikes. Jake Diekman is good when he's throwing strikes. He's bad when he's throwing balls. So having that confidence, especially with how long his contract is, you need to build up faith in some of these guys. So I don't hate that he's going to some of these guys in tight games, and especially you bringing up now Raylo, Graveman, Kelly, all fresh for that Minnesota series, which is huge. And hopefully, again, with the spot that they are in the rotation, they can take full advantage of that. They can have their guys go 6-7 innings, and we could see them have a very limited bullpen use like they did today. They only used 2 pitchers.
But yeah, I'm very interested in the whole Colome thing. I think it's another, listen, we've talked now 2 off seasons in a row, or 2 preseasons in a row, and 1 full off season, right, for us here at CHGO, about these minor league signings, these guys that maybe you've heard of before, but that are really just rolls of the dice. It worked really well for them last year with Johnny Cueto. This is this again, and who knows? Maybe it turns into another weapon in that bullpen, or maybe it doesn't. You know what I mean? But it's another roll of those dice, and we'll see what happens. That the news of it came like the same day that they DFA'd Ruiz was pretty interesting. But I think that's probably more just coincidence than anything else. But listen, you take a look at that pitching or that pitching staff in Charlotte, and the guys who are pitching out of that bullpen right now. Colome becomes just as interesting a name as any of them, I think.
Yeah. Right now in the minors on the 40-man, AJ Alexei, who walked 7 guys and 1 1/3, but didn't allow a hit. Tanner Banks,
7 guys.
Yeah, 7 guys.
My goodness,
it's like
so many walks.
It's like the 7-5 no hitter that one the Chattanooga Lookouts had. Tanner Banks on the 40-man with a minor league deal. I would assume that he's one of the next guys up just because of his experience with the major league team last year. Franklin Herman, or German, is on the 40-man roster. Davis Martin on the 40-man roster. He's probably up there with Tanner Banks, depending on if they want a righty or lefty. Nicholas Padilla is on the 40-man roster, and Stever is on the 40-man roster. So, I mean, they would have to make a move to get one of those guys off to get Colome on. I think it depends on how well he pitches. Colome last year was with Colorado, but he was worse away from Coors Field. 6 ERA away in 23 2/3 innings, a 5.40 ERA in Coors in 23 1/3 innings for Colome. He was decent when he was with the Twins back in 2021, a 1.03 plus ERA, but an 82 ERA plus last year. It's a flyer. I mean, again, He might be on the team. He might not be on the team. It's major league depth, though. I mean, a guy with major league experience. I don't want to see him back up here because I think that probably is a bad sign for the major league bullpen, whether it be health or poor performance.
Maybe, but now they've got a guy there now who's playing a role that you might not need every day. You know what I mean? Maybe Jesse Schultens ends up on the shuttle. You know what I mean? Maybe he's the guy who you call up when the bullpen is taxed, but when it isn't, go ahead and get another, a more effective arm perhaps in there, or who knows? Or maybe Schultens shows that he belongs here and he becomes this year's version of Tanner Banks.
Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. I do think that they might, they got Bummer and Diekman. I guess those are their lefties right now.
And Crochet probably due back at some point over the next month or so.
Yeah, in May. And yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, Schultens too. I mean, if Liam is able to return and, return before May, like they're saying, maybe Schultens, that's when he takes his dip back to Charlotte, is when Liam Hendricks returns. So, this bullpen definitely will not look like this when it comes to October.
Well, bullpens in general, though, they just fluctuate so much over the course of the year. Even if that opening day bullpen, you're absolutely right, because Hendricks and Crochet aren't here, right? But even if it was on opening day, the guys that they wanted, it's just going to do this all year, just because, you got to bring in a guy for when the bullpen's tired. You got to bring in a guy when someone goes on the IL. It's just the nature of the beast.
You had a takeaway about Kopech.
I did. And I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about him, but I think so many folks last year focused on the coaching staff. And again, Ethan Katz was kind of mostly immune from that criticism, but it was, why aren't these guys making the adjustments that they need to make? This is, we're seeing this problem with the lineup or the pitch selection or hitting balls in the air over the course of the season. Why aren't they fixing it, kind of thing? On Monday, Michael Kopech probably was tipping his pitches. And the White Sox said, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it, and we're going to make some adjustments to fix it. They saw something. They went to work over the course of the 4-5, I guess, days that between his starts. And man, did they fix it. Because he was excellent today against the Pirates. It's an example of the coaching staff and Michael himself making the adjustments they need to make from game to game to get better. And in this case, get a lot better, because he was real bad in giving up 5 home runs on Monday. So this was a very positive example of what folks were looking for all season last year in tangible evidence. Not just the whole behind the scenes conversations, which of course are happening all the time, but tangible evidence of the coaching staff doing the work to make the team better. You can't get it. You can't get it any more blatant or obvious than this.
Absolutely. And two, if this is just one game and we're just looking at, basing it off how a guy looks in a game and when he's throwing pitches, I wouldn't have even taken Kopech out. Obviously, he doesn't really have that long of, not a lot of many 7-inning outings. Going over 100 pitches is always, iffy for starters. But he just looked sharp the entire time. It was not a roller coaster. It wasn't up and down. We've seen so many times where Kopech hits that wall and he starts hitting 92 on the gun. He starts hitting, 93, just starts losing that velocity, that zip, that slider starts, not dipping and not really diving out of the zone. It just kind of stays flat. You did not see that today. It was sharp throughout the entire game. The only time he was touching 90 was with his changeup. That's a great sign for Michael Kopech. And against a very heavy left-handed lineup. There was 8 lefties in this lineup, and he dealt with all of them. Again, only 2 hits allowed for Michael Kopech, and absolutely to the point of, they saw something and they fixed it. The Pirates didn't pick up on it. So that's huge right there. We'll see what he does in his next start. That will be against, who do they play after?
Baltimore.
Next
weekend.
Ooh, he's on the sweatshirt giveaway night.
Oh,
he's on the Saturday one. Oh, that's gonna be great.
House.
110. Michael Kopech versus Kyle Gibson. Let's go. That's a great giveaway day. So to make sure you're going over to Game Time and checking that out. Is there a Game Time read? No, it's a ComEd read. Let's let you know about ComEd. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve help manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. And ComEd offers a free facility assessment that can help find energy saving opportunities like HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed plan specific to your goals and needs, and these can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they could start working on immediately, and each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So if you own a business, do not wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That is ComEd.com/poweringbiz. Let's get into Andrew Vaughn real quick. Final thing that I just wanted to bring up today was an ugly day for my guy. 7 swings, 5 whiffs. Andrew Vaughn, something that I've always been excited by is his ability to make contact and his ability to be a guy that just doesn't take a lot of bad swings. He looked lost today. Just not really able to pick up anything from David Bednar in that 9th inning. Went down with a quick strikeout, and Oviedo, the starter right-hander, again, being able to neutralize Andrew Vaughn. I don't know if it's a big concern for me through 7 games, but the 2 Andrews not looking too good so far. If there's 2 hitters that I'm concerned about, it's Vaughn and Benintendi.
Well, I'll say this. A lot of love in the comments for Gavin Sheets, who had 3 hits today. So we'd be remiss to let the show end without mentioning Gavin's nice day.
The White Sox hitters saw 5 ball 3 pitches. 4 of them were from Gavin Sheets in the 7th inning, where he hit
and 1 at bat.
One other one was Sebi Zavala in the 5th inning. So that's just ugly to see. Again, this team, The one concern is, we're seeing hits, we're seeing extra base hits, we're seeing a little bit more power. That's good. This team still isn't walking, still lower, like 5% walk rate or so around where they were last year. I would like to see that improve.
I'll tell you this. Pedro has said now on multiple times, though, that this team wants to be aggressive. And they are saying very much along the lines of what Tony La Russa and Frank Menachino were saying a year ago, which is walks are a product of a good approach at the plate, of good at bats, right? But Pedro has said numerous times, pretty forcefully, the White Sox are not going up to the plate looking to take a walk. They're going up to the plate looking to get a hit, and the idea being that their mastery of the strike zone in being able to hit well will produce walks. It's not like this team is saying, forget about walking altogether. But when it comes to the approach, they're not going up, they're trying to get walks. They're trying to go up, they're trying to get hits.
And we saw it last year, and we saw it not turn out well. They do have a high BABIP right now. Their balls in play, or the batting average on balls in play, is high, and it seems a little too high to be true. But even when Tim Anderson's hitting the ball in play, he's hitting it hard, which is a great sign. I think he has like 16 plus 95 mile per hour hits. So again, the mastery of the strike zone and with how hard their guys hit it, that's fine. But I don't know. I'd like to see Benintendi walk a little bit more. I feel like he can have better at bats. Vaughn as well. It seems like they're going down fighting a little bit. I feel like some of these guys, maybe that's not the best approach for them, but
again, how many times too have we talked about it being on at least my opinion is it should probably be on an individual basis, right? Like, sure, Tim Anderson shouldn't be going up there trying to walk, but guess who very obviously does? Yasmani Grandal, right? And he's built a career on being that kind of player. I think Benintendi's probably somewhere in the middle of that, right? And so I think it's different things work for different players, and so if you want to make that your team-wide motto, that's fine. But how many times last year did we hear a team-wide motto being said by Tony or Menachino, and it was about, hey, we need to be selective. We want our team to be selective, not swing at pitches out of the zone. And there were several players, of note who very clearly were doing their own thing to their detriment. Right. I think you can do your own thing to and have it be a benefit to every player, but you have to be doing it well. And some guys are doing it well, some guys aren't. What I would say through 10 games, offense has not been the problem for the White Sox.
No, just the 8 ERA from all the pitchers.
That'll do it.
But hey, even Gavin Sheets too. Gavin Sheets has looked great. He's got the second highest average exit velocity out of all White Sox hitters. I think his single today was over 100 miles per hour, so that's great. Do you know who leads the team in exit velocity? It's only 5 batted ball events though.
Who leads the team in exit velocity?
Yes.
And it's someone who doesn't play very often because they've only hit the ball 5 times.
Yes.
Sebi Zavala.
No, Jake Berger.
That makes sense.
Just smashing balls. Absolutely insane. I'm excited to see him. He's been really good since he's been up so far. He smashed Rich Hill to pieces. It was awesome.
Every time they play a lefty, you'll see him.
Yeah. Hey, and good because he's really talented at hitting left-handed pitchers. So I'm excited to see Jake Berger. That's nice depth though to see. It's not good to see Eloy go out, but hey, when they do, I feel like Jake Berger is of major league quality. I feel like Gavin Sheets is of major league quality, and it's nice that that's the platoon that they're going after. And 2, if we see a left-handed reliever, we'll probably see Jake Berger come into the game because, again, that's what Pedro's kind of harped on a lot is that platoon between those two.
Yeah, he did the reverse on Wednesday against the Giants, where he plugged Sheets in later in the game once the Giants went to the bullpen.
So there you go. We'll see if we see more Jake Berger. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox postgame show. That is Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. Herb Lawrence will be here tomorrow. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's coming back from PNC. We'll hear about his second favorite ballpark as well for a 1-10 game. A very weird start for a Monday, but we will be with you for your afternoon drive home with a CHGO White Sox post-game show. Again, you can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox, and I am Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us in the chat. Thank you, Stephen Nicholas, for producing the show. We'll see you for a 12:30 pregame for the Sox and Twins tomorrow. Cease versus Maeda.